you so much to DRC and OCRA for being here today. And so our first presenter is Raymond with DRC, the ACE group, so Advocacy Community Engagement Group.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. I just want to start off with just an introduction of myself, who I am, and what I do. So my name is Raymond Kwong. I am an advocate with Disability Rights California with the ACE team. So that's a combination of outreach and intake. Um, I've been with DRC for 9 years. Next April would be 10 years. I finally hit the double digits. I was born legally blind, so I'm a person with a disability myself. So I am going to bring up my screen real quick and we'll get this presentation started. Okay. So Disability Rights California. This would be a quick overview of our agency, what we do, the different departments and teams that are within. Disability Rights California, we were formerly known as Protection and Advocacy, Inc. We are a statewide nonprofit. We started in 1978. We were federally mandated to provide legal services to people with disabilities. This was a result from an expose by Gerardo Rivera when he showed the horrific condition that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities were living in at New York State School, Willowbrook. If you ever want to learn more, you can find the documentary on YouTube. So each state and territory has a protection and advocacy agency. So they might be called something a little bit different. So example would be Disability Rights Oregon, Disability Rights New York, but they do similar work as us. And some of the issues that we work on are special education, public benefits, which includes Medi-Cal, in-home supportive services, Social Security overpayment issue that relates to work, regional center services, housing, mental health, and etc. I'll go a little more in depth into everything and all the issues we cover here in the later slides. And we provide disability-related legal assistance for people with disabilities. And we have over 260 employees, probably closer to 300 at this point, I think. And we are one of the largest disability rights organization in the nation. And we have offices in Sacramento, that's our headquarters, Oakland, Modesto, Fresno, LA, Orange, Ontario, and other smaller offices in between. Myself, it's in the San Diego office. I am working remotely from home. Here are the different programs within our agency. We have the California Office of Civil Patient Rights, and we have staff within the different state hospitals and facilities to make sure people with disabilities in those facilities are taken care of and they have the rights and needs met. They are not part of the state facility or hospital. They're still part of our agency. We have the Office of Client Rights Advocacy, which Evelyn will go a little more in depth into. We have a Client Assistant Program, or CAP. This team specializes in helping clients of the Department of Rehabilitation. So if callers call us about, if they have issues or with their counselor, getting the services they need, or even just applying to DOR services, they can call us, get transferred to CAP, and we can give them more information, advice, and guidance. We have the Peer Self-Advocacy, or PSA. Folks in this unit all identify with having a mental health disability, and they go into different clubhouses, mental health related facilities to do presentation on a variety of topics. Work Incentives and Planning Assistance, or WIPA. They provide case counseling to people who are getting Social Security benefits. So I think a misconception is that some folks might have is that if you're on supplemental security income or SSI, you can't work or you lose your benefits. Well, this WIPA would be able to give the person more information. So, there's a calculation you can do regarding, your income, and if you don't work, um, if you don't earn too much, you'll still be able to keep part of your benefits, and the folks on this team would be able to help you figure all that out. We have our office payee review and beneficiary assistance, or OPRABA. Staff in this group investigate any issue that comes up with red payee. So what that means is that so if someone is receiving Social Security benefits and they have trouble managing their finances, they might be assigned a red payee, or if they choose, they can have their family or someone else be the red payee to manage the finances. If issue comes up about a red payee maybe not doing what they're supposed to do, or potentially some shady business going on, then this team would be able to help investigate. And then our legal advocacy unit, which is where ACE team, my team, the team I'm part of, also resides. I'll go into a little more details on how that the teams that encompass the LAU. So here we call them practice group. Basically, is a group of attorneys and advocates that specialize in different topics within the LAU. So we have investigations. So if someone calls us about a facility where they allege abuse or neglect, this team might be able to go and investigate and look into the matter further. Civil rights, that covers a wide range of topics from access or discrimination with businesses, everyday life, reasonable accommodation when it comes to employment, um, service animal, emotional support animal, parrot transit. It covers a lot of different topics that relates to civil rights and disability. Mental health, this is mainly folks who call from a facility. They might want to know their rights, or maybe they are in a 5150 temporary hold and they want to know more on what they can do. Youth covers special education, anything that relates to special education. Healthcare, home, and community-based services, this covers all the public benefits. So anything that relates to Medi-Cal or in-home supportive services. Pathways to work, this is where the CAP client assistance program also resides. So they work with clients of the Department of Rehabilitation. Intellectual and developmental disabilities, so this is calls about potentially regional center, anything that relates to someone who might have an intellectual developmental disabilities. Voting rights, as the name suggests, staff on this team make sure the voting system within California is accessible to all Californians with disabilities. And as you can imagine, they are busy throughout the state training poll workers and advocating for voters with disabilities. And they have a voting hotline that's available throughout the year. People can call us and ask about the upcoming election, if they have questions about accessible voting place, or if they want to find more information about mail ballots, they can give us a call. Legislative unit, this is the team that works on public policy, larger picture, larger laws that covers people with disabilities. And then outreach and intake, as I said, is the ACE advocacy and community engagement team, which is I'm a part of. And we do intake, which is answering the phones, open cases, and outreach, providing presentation and education out in the community. So like what I'm doing today. Here's what we can do for our clients when they call us: information referral, counsel advice, brief services. evaluation and assessment, negotiation and mediation, technical assistance, direct representation, outreach training, and self-advocacy support. So depending on the issue the caller calls us about, a lot of what we do are counsel advice. So we listen to their particular situation, we provide feedback on the spot if we can, and then we go consult with the appropriate practice group. And then we get back to them with legal advice, guidance, and potential referrals. And depending on our resources, it can range all the way to direct representation. We can't always promise that because we don't know, what the practice group's resources are, but these are just potential services we can provide. And of course, outreach training and self-advocacy support. We have a wealth of publication on our website, which I will navigate through after I go through the PowerPoint. And here's just an example of how the intake process works. So when someone calls us, they will speak to our pre-intake staff, which would be, they will just collect basic contact information, name, phone number, the person's disability potentially, and then just a 1 to 2 sentence of their issue, just so they know enough to know who to transfer to. And then they'll transfer to an advocate, which will collect more in-depth information and provides advice. So, me, I'm an advocate. So let's say I'm on the phone for CAP, for Client Assistance Program, so anything that's Department of Rehabilitation related, and also for disability discrimination, so anything that's related to that. So someone calls about those issues, they'll get transferred to me. I'll get more detailed information, more facts, and then I will try to provide them with relevant information on the spot and also send them a publication so they know more information about their rights. And then I will consult with our practice group attorneys. If there's additional guidance, advice, or potential referrals, I will get that and relay back to the client. And again, depending on our resources and the issue, then potentially they might offer to follow up with the client directly and provide a higher level service. And we do, excuse me, and we do have interpretations available. We do have staff who speak Spanish, and if you request Spanish interpreting, you'll get transferred to someone who speaks Spanish, and other languages will go through an interpretation services. And here's some problems that we can't help with. We can't help with direct representation that relates to criminal law, family law, bankruptcy, or workers' compensation hearings, social work, personal injury lawsuits, obtaining Social Security benefits, obtaining guardianship or conservatorship, and any issue that's not related to an individual's disability. A lot of these have other attorneys out there that do these areas of law, such as personal injury lawsuits and workers' comp and bankruptcy courts. So that's why a lot of this we don't have expertise in. And if someone calls about these issues, we would refer them out. We do have an attorney referral list. And here's just some additional information on our website. And our online presence, we have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or X, LinkedIn. So here is our website. So www.disabilityrightsca.org. So when you look at here, it can be a little overwhelming. There's a lot of different tabs. If you scroll down, there's even more. But I want to bring your attention to just a few that might be helpful to you all. So resources. This is where all our publication lives. So it's separated by different topics. So from assisted technology to assisted animals to census, Department of Rehabilitation, employment, everything, emergency preparedness. So I'll just slowly scroll down here just so you can get an idea. And then at the bottom here, we have our two more popular publications. Our rights under the Lanterman Act, anything related to basically the regional center, and our special education rights and responsibilities. Everything you need or want to know about special education can be found here. And a lot of these publications are translated to different languages as well. So if let's say, I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's say I want to know about assistant animals. And you see here, assistant animal in housing, service animal, and emotional support animal. So let's say I want to look into this publication, and I speak Chinese, so I would just go to the side here, and I go to Chinese, and there we go. Spanish, there we go. So it should be fairly simple to navigate through, and you can also change the whole website to the language you prefer as well. If you look up on the right-hand side, you can see all the different languages that are available. So this is how you find all our publication. And then I will also want to bring your attention to events. So if you're ever curious, you want to know what other webinar or outreach we're doing, you can go into here and you can see all the upcoming events that are available. Medical changes on the 17th, habitability and the rights to safe living conditions, and so on and so on. And you can, of course, sign up for notice of our events. And then next we have Get Help. So here's where you would be able to find our phone number and the times and days that our phones are open. And this is just going through what we can't help with. And if it's easier for folks, you can also fill out our online intake form here. And then our advocates would be able to follow up with you as soon as possible. I'm going to scroll back up. Sorry for making you dizzy. And then one last thing, I'm going to go into programs. So here, you'll be able to find all the teams that I mentioned in the PowerPoint. Advocacy and Communication and Engagement, ACE is right there. If you want to know more, Office of Patient Rights, Client Assistance Program, and of course, if I scroll back, find it, Office of Client Rights Advocacy, which segues into Evelyn's part of the presentation. So I'm just going to scroll down here real quick. So if you want to find out who your OCRA staff is, here is where you will be able to find it. You can Control F to search through. Let's say you live in, I don't know, San Diego. So we'll go here, San Diego. And then you'll be able to find out who your client rights advocate is. All right. So I think it's a good segue into Evelyn's presentation. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So nothing that I share today will be legal advice. I mean, there's if someone will ask a question, I mean, try not to share too much information. There's confidentiality. There's no right to confidentiality since we're in a public, forum. And I'm not going to be giving any legal advice. I don't think that's the forum for this also, but if someone has, questions or something that comes up that makes them think, hey, I want to reach out to you, or can I reach out to you? I might have this type of situation. Feel free to reach out to us and I'll go over that information. And this is our office in Fresno. We just recently moved. We are a block away from Fresno State University. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of where we're at, it's on East Shaw Avenue. So this is where we're at. And that's our phone number. And then it is, like I mentioned, Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy is a unit under Disability Rights California where we operate, there's like a firewall, what we call a firewall, we cannot communicate with DRC regarding, our clients. Our work is confidential. And OCRA is funded through a contract with the California Department of Developmental Services. That's how we get our funding. And then we also have offices, advocates like myself, throughout 21 regional centers across the state. So each regional center should have has its Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy. And this includes people currently receiving regional center services, as well as people seeking eligibility. So the consumers, the people that we assist, have to meet this criteria. Either they have to be currently receiving regional center services, or they're seeking eligibility for regional center services. And sometimes they applied for services and they get denied. And those are cases that we do review, and we provide counsel and advice solely for that purpose, since they're not clients of the regional center, but they're challenging their eligibility. So those are the two requirements that we have in order for us to assist someone. And then, so what can we do, right? What can we do for regional center consumers? What we do is we provide information to clients on their legal rights. So it could range from providing information that's at the lowest, basic type of service that we provide. And then if you think about it from the lowest to the highest type of complexity or the service that we provide, next would be to review documents and provide some advice to clients on how to resolve their situation. So that's usually entails talking to usually the parents, the family member, regarding the issue. Maybe might be researching some law, reviewing some documents, and then having a follow-up conversation with the family and providing some advice specific to their situation. And this is known as, providing advice to that family. Next, we also help with preparing for upcoming meetings or hearings. So this could also will likely entail having a conversation with the family, reviewing documents. Sometimes although we prepare the family, we can also help with drafting a document or documents that they can use in their hearing. For example, like for IHSS, it's something that we do help with also. It can entail maybe helping them with completing a chart that describes their children's need and preparation for the hearing that they can use for the hearing. Maybe helping them to identify which records would be helpful for their hearing, and maybe how to put them in order and prepare for the hearing. Also, the next one would be assist in preparing documents to assure compliance with the law. I think that is kind of connected to the other one that I just mentioned right now. So maybe gathering, assisting with preparing documents, and that could be with, me for special education also. When someone comes to us, a parent comes to us and says, hey, I'm not in agreement with this, what the school district is saying, that this placement or this the services, amount of services, or they changed my child's services, or other concerns that they may have related to that individualized education plan of their child. Then in that instance, we're like requesting records from the schools and reviewing those records to properly advise the parent. Sometimes we're helping them like write letters on their behalf, which has their name, and then they're sending those letters to the school. So that's just one example. And then provide legal trainings for consumers, families, service providers, and community groups, just like what we're doing right now. That's what we also do, out in the community to prepare trainings. This is more informal. This is more about what is OCRA. But there's all other trainings that are a little bit more like legal, like for example, denial of rights, individuals that live in homes, group homes, persons that have disabilities that have a little bit more of a need with behaviors and they live in group homes. We also do trainings for those homes regarding the rights that the residents that live there have, their rights, and the process that they need to follow before they deny that person certain rights that they're entitled to. So that's an example that's coming to mind. And then we also do like trainings on regional center rights, and some that are coming to mind. Also represent people with developmental disabilities at administrative hearings. So that would be at Social Security, at the Social Security level. Maybe we start a case with providing, reviewing the issue, documents, and then providing some advice. And then maybe that family might need help with appealing the case, and then writing like a letter to Social Security regarding the issue, or how to advocate to, and through a documentation or a letter, writing that letter, helping the client write that letter, and then also based on records, make the argument of why Social Security should change their decision. And that entails sometimes going to an administrative hearing, all the way to an administrative hearing, that we agree that will do that. And sometimes things get resolved before the administrative hearing, so that happens as well. And then, like I mentioned earlier, investigation of denial of rights, which is not necessarily investigations, but like when, let's say, we received monthly, throughout the month, we receive what's known the persons that live in group homes that have disabilities and they're living in those group homes. The group home sends us the individual behavior support plan or an individual behavior support treatment, the behavior data, how the person is making progress throughout in the home, special incident reports, that usually entail like whether the person was acting out, there was a restraint, there was a hold. So we are reviewing those as they're coming. When they come in almost daily. But we review those, and we're really looking out for denials of rights. If there any allegations in there that the person make any allegations of denial of rights, or were there any other concerns regarding treatment to this person, or inappropriate behaviors from staff to this person. So, and then if we identify any concerns in those reports, then we follow up with the person. If there was any denial of rights, then, or we identify a possible denial of a right, then we follow up with the person in the home, and then we usually end up having like participating in the IBS team meeting, individual behavior support team meeting, to discuss, how those rights are going to be reinstated. And then some of the things that we help with, what are the areas of the law that an advocate can assist a CVRC consumer with? So some of them are the following, what we assist with. So it's a regional center, of course. So we do not get a lot of, calls for this type of, subject, but we do assist, which is, we're still trying to, work with that or work our way around that. But concerns regarding regional center services, or if there's an issue with obtaining a service from the regional center, like that, we assist also with, or like reviewing notices of action that the regional center issues to a parent, to a client, and advising on the rights and how to approach that. Special education, we get a lot of special education cases, like individual education plan related matters. We get a lot, I would say like 70% of our cases might be special education. We do get a lot in special education, and it ranges a lot. It ranges from, I would say, information and referral, really, we don't we're mostly doing counsel and advice all the way to drafting letters to the school, representing an IEP meetings, and entering into settlement agreements with the districts around here. So, but we usually start with counsel and advice, reviewing records, and then from there, advising the parent, and then usually writing a letter on their behalf to the district, and then giving those letters are usually on the behalf of the parent, and then the parent provides them. It has their information. We just provide the content. We, in essence, write the letter, but it has the parents' information and they submit it to the school, requesting what they're needing and according to the law and their rights and what they're requesting from the school. And then they follow up with that with the school, and then the school, so most of the times they do pay attention, like we're assuming, because they don't come back to us. So I ask them, come back to me and let me know if this worked or not, because then we can pick up and take it to the next level. So, but sometimes if it doesn't work, I do have some people that come back and then we pick up and it's like, okay, well, what can we do? What's the next kind of like level of assistance that we can provide? We need to step in, we need to go to an IEP. And sometimes we just make the call and I'm like, no, I'm going to the IEP, I'm representing, and we represent an IEP. So that's very common for our office. Social Security Administration matters. Social Security Administration matters. We do review those cases as well, provide assistance with that, Social Security income, Social Security disability related, the program, at least the acronym right there, but we do provide, in essence, provide counsel and advice with Social Security matters. And we're usually reviewing records, providing counsel and advice, sometimes writing a letter on their behalf as well. And then Medi-Cal, we do get some Medi-Cal. We don't get a lot of Medi-Cal yet. We also don't, that's like not our area, but when it comes to it, if we receive the case, then we'll be looking into it, researching it, and trying to at least provide some, basic advice there. Discrimination in the form of maybe sometimes the school discriminating against a student. We've had those concerns, or a family, maybe also an employment related. Sometimes we do get cases that are there's discrimination, or the person is alleging discrimination based on in their employment, based on their disability. Alternatives to conservatorships. We don't focus on conservatorships, but we do provide it's more like a discussion. What are those alternatives? Have you thought about maybe a power of attorney? Have you thought about obtaining healthcare directives? Or have you talked to your bank about what form you need to complete in order to open a bank account instead of having a conservatorship over this person? So we try to have the discussion. So what's the need? Why are you seeking a conservatorship for this person? What's really the underlying concern there? And then seeing if we can help provide some thoughts on how to go about fulfilling that need without a conservatorship. And sometimes the person, it's determined, no, I want a conservatorship, and they'll pursue it. So but at least we advise on the alternatives to conservatorship. And then personal autonomy. The one case that I could think about, because it's like sometimes these weird cases that we get, for example, on a medical, I had a case where the doctor did not want to conduct a procedure on a person, and he was under a lot of pain. It was kind of a sensitive procedure, but although the doctor had already gone through the different steps to verify that this person had competency to make that decision, that he was capable, he understood the risks of this procedure, and he made the decision to still move forward. The doctor didn't think that was enough, and this person was really under pain because he wasn't getting the procedure that he needed. And in that time instance, we helped the person. We helped him write a letter that he submitted to his doctor regarding that procedure, which I believe he ended up getting. The other one is community integration. I don't really have a specific case. Maybe I need to update this presentation, but community integration, I'm sure that's I'm really not sure about that one. I haven't come across anything with community integration. I can't think of a specific example, but IHSS and home supportive services, we do a help with that, and reviewing usually like the notice of action, how many hours IHSS issued, and oftentimes the issue there is the amount of hours that were issued. Oftentimes the parent believes there should have been issued more hours, or there's a concern that protective supervision wasn't issued. So we do review those notices of action. We provide counsel and advice, and abuse and neglect. Like if we get a call that has concerns regarding abuse or neglect, we are reporting those if the person is an adult. If they give consent and they want us to report it, we're usually making those reports to the appropriate agency. And then we provide information regarding CalAble accounts as well. And housing or employment, reasonable accommodations. We're also providing help with those matters. Sometimes housing, it's very limited for housing, how much we do, because it's such its own area of the law, and we're like not experts in that area. So we're usually we're trying, like if we see something that is maybe easily resolved or like it's not complex, then we might just provide the information or get in there and see what we can do. But if it's something complex, then we're usually referring like to CCLS in Fresno. And then also like employment matters, like I mentioned, usually that's tied to discrimination, or that like the employer not providing accommodations or issues with providing accommodations, and then reasonable accommodations, which is right there. And then OCRA, we try to assist, everyone that calls our office, but then the type of assistance will vary. So it ranges, the assistance that we provide ranges from information and referral, which I mentioned earlier, to counsel and advice. Counsel and advice is we're usually reviewing the facts, the issues, the facts of the case, the law, and providing some advice. And the next level of service is technical assistance, where we're usually drafting something on behalf of the person, and then they're submitting that to a proper agency. So that could be like a letter to Social Security, a letter to the district, a report, something to that effect. Maybe like a report that has evidence connected to it, of why that overpayment should be removed, for example. Investigation, like for example, of your case, but I would say I would probably reword that to the abuse. It's more connected to abuse. Like if there's abuse, that we're not necessarily going to investigate it, but we're going to reach out to the person and find out, if they want us to report it, and then also what supports they need in order for us to just connect them to those supports. And then direct representation is just representing the person, representing them at whether that's at an IEP meeting, IHSS hearing, Social Security informal conference or hearing, or representation at a informal conference or meeting with regional center. And so they can, if any clients of the regional center that have any type of these problems or are coming across any of these problems, they can call our office. And or if they belong to the Fresno area, they can call our office, or if they're in a different area in California, they can call the OCRA office assigned to the regional center. And then OCRA staff will ask clients during that first call, what is the legal problem, what is the issue that they're having, questions to determine how best we can assist the caller, and information we use to determine, they'll ask for questions and information used to determine how better to assist them. Usually the first call is like a basic call. Hi, like what is it that you're seeking assistance with? Are you a client of the regional center? What's the issue that you're needing assistance with? And if the person is a client of the regional center, and the matter is one that falls within one of the areas that we assist with, then an intake is scheduled for a later date, where we're doing the intake mostly over the phone. I've had individuals requesting in person, which is totally fine. We do in-person intakes too, but just after COVID, I think the thing that, it became normal to do intakes over the phone, but we also do those in person if the person prefers. And during the actual intake, what we call an intake, that's when we're usually like an hour, up to an hour, where we're getting the details of the issue, requesting documentation to review, maybe providing some basic advice, and then getting the person's concerns, what they're requesting, what their concerns are, and then either me or the assistant client's rights advocate will be assigned to the case, and maybe if it's a complex case or something a little bit more challenging, I will probably get the case and then review the facts, the records, the law, and then follow up with the client within a couple of days to set up an appointment to advise. So in deciding whether to represent a person directly, the advocate considers different things: the merits of the case, the ability of the person to advocate for themselves, the resources that OCRA has available at that moment, and then other available advocacy. So each person, like each advocate, will decide based on these factors whether, what level of assistance they can provide. And if every caller can considered a client, and no, though it's a contract with EDS, OCRA serves only consumers of the regional center, not their family member, service providers, or other advocates. So therefore, regional center consumer is the client and not the parent, family member, service provider, or other advocate. So we do get some, it is common for us to get calls from like family member or the aunt, the uncle, the cousin, and say, hey, I'm looking for this type of service for my cousin. He's a client of the regional center, or my niece, or my son, or my brother. So if the person is an adult, the regional center consumer is an adult, we have to speak to that person first and get their consent as far as, this is what this person called us about. And are you wanting assistance with this? Do you want us to? Are you okay with us providing them with this information? And then if the person gives their consent for us to help provide that information, then we move forward. For service coordinator or program manager referrals, this may mean that OCRA will first need to speak with the client directly to open a case for our office. And that's usually what we're doing with regional center referrals that we receive. We're following up with the family or with the consumer, and following up as far as scheduling an intake. And then OCRA works to support the expressed or best interest of the consumers. So like I mentioned just a tad ago, we are client-centered. So we are asking the client, what is it that you would want us to do? What is it that you need? We understand this other person, third person called us and they're saying they want information, or they to help you with this matter, or they would like to do this, but what do you think? What do you want? Do you have an opinion or not? And then from there, moving forward in the best way to support the client's interest and what they have in mind. So if the client isn't able to communicate his or her desires, then we work to determine what's in the best interest of the client and how to meet that. And then we're checking conflicts of interest, meaning that if a conflict arises between the express or best interest of the client and the wishes of the family, service provider, or advocate, OCRA will always work for the express or best interest of the client, not the person who first called our office. And then what if a consumer has a problem with OCRA and OCRA cannot assist with? So if the caller has a legal problem that OCRA cannot assist with, OCRA would try to refer them to another advocacy agency or send them some self-help publications or refer them to Disability Rights California website, which was reviewed earlier, and maybe one of those other units can assist. We also have like an attorney referral list for different areas of the law. So if that person, that the issue that they're having, we have a referral list for that. We'll provide the referral list if we have it. And then this is how you can reach us. Like I mentioned earlier, we are, it's me, Clients Rights Advocate, and then it's our Assistant Clients Rights Advocate, Geraldine, and Perez, and then that's our office, 1320 East Shaw Avenue, Suite 168 in Fresno, California, and that's our number 2559-271-6736.